Okay. Okay. Good morning, Sangha. Good morning. Can you hear me okay with this microphone? Okay, fabulous. Well, I was wondering today if Roshi was gonna, show up, or is he there? Oh, there he is. Okay. I have a question for you. What day is it? Yeah, we can't hear you.
It's our anniversary.
Oh, he remembered. Yes, and I have this picture, our wedding picture, 36 years ago when I was 38 and he was 39. A long time ago. That was taken at the Zen Center of Los Angeles. I'm gonna move this over here. Oh, okay, here. How's that? Is that still good? And I have a little album over there, some photographs if you're interested in looking at our wedding photos at the Zen Center of Los Angeles, where Maizumi Roshi married us, and Egyoku, who is she just retired as the abbot, just, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so. She was his Jisha, and she's now living up in Seattle. So today is the first day of spring. I wanted to get married on the first day of spring because it's about renewal and rebirth and starting a new life together formally. Because we first met in college when I was 19 and he was 20 at a small private Baptist college in Southern California, the University of Redlands. And we were in the same geology class together in January. And I was interested in arrowheads. We're digging and put this big screen, put your dirt in there and do this. And we'd find arrowheads and pieces of pottery at different digs. And he was doing the same thing. And so he asked me out. And the first date was to see the movie Camelot. That was a long time ago, right? Camelot. And I think we had dinner at Denny's or something like that. So, and then there was a period, we just went together for a year, and I really felt I was 19, too young to get serious. And so we went our separate ways. I think he went to the Zen Center actually soon after meeting me, and then he ordained. He also had some tragedy in his life, right? His father died of blood cancer. His mother, about a year later, killed by a drunk driver. She was crossing a crosswalk. And then his sister died also in a car accident. So all of this, I think, while he was at the Zen Center of Los Angeles. I think that was a very supportive place for him. But he can tell you that story. As for me, I really didn't know what I was going to do after I graduated from college and decided, I'll just take some classes that I like. And then finally decided, well, I like to eat. I think I'll try to get my master's in public health nutrition. I like to eat, makes sense. And so it happened. And I met another man who was we met over a dead body because we were taking anatomy together, and we started going out. Yeah, I know, we met over a dead body in anatomy class. And then when he graduated as a doctor, we went to Seattle. And we got there, one of the first things we did was get into a car accident. And actually nothing was too banged up, but the car was totaled. Funny stories. Anyway, I got a job when we moved to Portland, building a food bank in Portland. And that's what I did for 10 and a half years. I built a huge nonprofit organization that was working with food. And at the same time, toward the end of that, I started working on a statewide network. So, because there's so much food, as Ken knows, that goes to waste. And we started distributing it statewide, a little network. And also at the same time, I got onto the board of directors of a fledgling organization called America's Second Harvest, which we're trying to link food banks they're popping up all over the country. Not too many, but still a bunch. And we formed this national network of food banks so we could actually share food across states. Because there was, like one time in Portland, we got a semi-load of Good Humor bars from New Jersey all the way. Trucker was deadheading, and so he brought all these ice cream bars. It was quite a day for Portland, working with the Sunshine. The Portland Police Department had a Sunshine Division where they distributed food to people who needed it. And on that day, there was a huge storm and all the electricity was out in the city. And so we had to really move the ice cream bars fast, but they seemed to go. We had all of these organizations lined up. When working in food, you got to work fast. A lot of phone calls. We already had a network of agencies that were a member of the food bank. So anyway, toward the end of that, I reconnected with Roshi because my relationship was not going very well, and he was available. So we started a relationship. There's more to the story, but I think I need to zip it for now. And we got together. And then decided after about a year's time for me to, end that relationship that I was in. We decided to get married. I was not married in the other relationship because he was not interested in getting married. I wanted to get married, but he was not. So I was like, okay, this has to be a dual kind of thing. So we got married. Roshi was really interested in getting married, which was really nice because I wanted a relationship where somebody really, really loved me. That was important to me because I was in a relationship that was not that. He had some issues, and so that was important to me. And I have to say, I learned about love through Roshi. Because I knew in the back of my mind, he was not a Zen priest at that time, but I knew that he had ordained. He was a wild artist at that time, and he was a wonderful artist. I loved his art. So I thought, well, maybe this will work. I don't know, but we'll see, you know? And that's what I wanted. I wanted somebody stable and who loved me for who I was. So we got married at the Zen Center of Los Angeles. He was not practicing at that time, but he asked Maizumi Roshi if he would marry us. And Maizumi Roshi said, sure, yes, of course. And so my parents got to meet Maizumi Roshi, which was wonderful. He was so kind and friendly, and I was really nervous, nervous actually, a Zen master. Oh my God, right? But he was really nice to my parents, and it was a beautiful wedding. And Roshi chose having a cellist there playing Bach, I think. I said, that sounds good to me. And it was a beautiful wedding. The reception was at his art studio in Venice Beach, which is like a one room with a little loft. And it was pretty full. I saw Maizumi Roshi, I was at the top, I saw him come in and then go out and leave. I guess too many people, I don't know. He did a beautiful ceremony. And I forgot to tell my father, I think, you know, that Maizumi Roshi would be calling him to say a few words after the ceremony, but he did really great. He was like, he said something like, I don't feel like I've lost a daughter. I feel like I gained a son. That was very beautiful. And so Jackie was saying, wow, if you didn't get married, we wouldn't be doing Sesshin right now. So 36 years. 36 years together. Yeah, that's a good amount of time. What have I learned? I should ask Roshi, what has he learned?
It's your talk.
Well, he has definitely, I, um, I've told him this before. He has definitely taught me, or I've had to practice patience a lot. I used to be way more perfectionist. Living with him, I've kind of let that slide. I'm not as a perfectionist as I used to be, which is a good thing, way good thing. I can't even think of the word. He is, well, anyway, that's all I can say for now. What about you, Roshi? What have you learned, Joshin?
It's your talk. I gave my talk yesterday. I'll give another talk tomorrow.
All right, okay. So I remember now, the word is stubborn. He definitely beats me in the stubborn category. He's like an ox, which is, that's his, that is his sign. Ox. I'm the tiger. Anyway. So I have been reading this wonderful book. Sky is our steward for the reading circle. And I have been reading this wonderful book called No Recipes by Ed Brown. I know I have to switch the topic now before I get deeper into territory. I don't know what I'm going to say. So anyway, it's worth it. Long-term relationships are worth it. They are. They can be hard like anything else, right? But I have learned a tremendous amount. And love, I've learned about love as well. I really didn't know what that meant when I first got into this relationship. I thought I knew, but not really. No recipe. Yes, if somebody were to ask me a recipe for a good relationship, I don't know what I would say because I think it's different for everybody, right? You bring your unique selves to the party. And that's what Ed Brown is saying in his No Recipe, cooking as spiritual practice. This is like relationships as spiritual practice. Everything is a spiritual practice. Anybody in a relationship knows it is wonderful practice. So I was thinking for this, definitely we're gonna have to cook and eat at our gatherings. We're gonna have to use his examples. It was really fabulous. So yesterday, Roshi was talking about the way-seeking mind. That was a wonderful exercise, right? The way-seeking mind. I think as we get deeper into Sesshin, I don't know about you, but I know I was out for a couple of days. I was out on Sunday night and all day Monday. I was sleeping for the most part. Yeah, it's like, what happened there? Well, I think what happened was it's been so busy and I've had a lot on my mind, a lot of left brain use and kind of some worries about this other project that I'm embarking on for hula. And what I've learned is letting go and opening to beginner's mind all the time. I had to do a lot of things in the last, couple of months with my left brain. And I think balance is really important here. Because I used to be like the ever ready bunny, always going, going, going. But I am now 73 going on 74. I can no longer do that. At some point, I have to just lie down. My body is just saying, you can't go anymore. You just have to rest. I think what it was, I told James, I think it's mental fatigue. And my father, who was a medic during World War II, this happened to me in high school because I was always, kind of busy. And I didn't have any physical symptoms of being ill, no sore throat, no congestion, but I was just simply tired. I also had a slight headache, which I want to remind people, drink water. You need to drink water, lots of it, because we're in, like in the Zendo, you can't bring water in here. And I'm usually sipping it all. So you have to really make an effort because I think headaches can be caused also by dehydration, right? So you got to take care of yourself. But anyway, my father said he saw a lot of it. He was a medic in the army. And I can imagine those soldiers, right, being so stressed out about being killed or seeing somebody killed, right? Mental fatigue. So that's what I think I had. It happened once about a month ago also. I just couldn't even teach any hula classes for a weekend. So balance is important. I think today and yesterday and today is that equinox. It's really a time to look at what in my life needs balance. I think that's a healthy attitude, kind of a wholesome attitude. What in my life, what do I want to bring balance for myself in this season of my life? I mean, we have responsibilities, things we got to do. But, right, how do we bring balance? And how do we work with our minds that's kind of, you know, too busy, maybe with nothing? Because that kind of tires you out, also kind of stresses you out. Nothing important anyway. So this way-seeking mind is also beginner's mind, right? The beginner's mind is always open, is not stuck on fixed ideas about self and other, which is an interesting thing to kind of look inward about, because a lot of our fixed ideas are just so, is the word ubiquitous, right? We've thought these to be true all our lives, and it's a habitual way of thinking. Right and wrong. Right and wrong, right? Can we let that go? In beginner's mind, you got to let that go. That's kind of touching into that absolute realm, which includes everything. So Ed Brown, he's a longtime practitioner and a Zen artist with food. Ed Brown says, because Dogen has always emphasized this way-seeking mind, beginner's mind. He's always emphasizing that practice. So whenever you have a fixed idea, look at it. Is this true? Do I need to have this idea? Can I let it go? It's a good practice to practicing beginner's mind. So Ed Brown says, fulfilling one's life purpose is not only acquiring knowledge and skills, but also opening your perceptual awareness and your capacity to respond in the present moment from your inner depths, or seeking the way to be awake in the present moment. Right, because if you've got fixed ideas, it's hard to be really awake of this moment. So everybody is a work in progress, okay? Yeah, everybody's a work in progress. We all have goals and agendas and dreams. And what will see you through all of this is beginner's mind. Hopes, fears. Right. This is what Dogen says about the Tenzo. In order to make reverential offerings, there is a position called Tenzo. Since ancient times, this position has been held by accomplished monks who have way-seeking minds, or by senior disciples with an aspiration for enlightenment. This is so because the position requires wholehearted practice. Those without way-seeking mind will not have good results in spite of their efforts. You feel that's true, Tenzo? Julie's shaking her head, yes. Yeah, and this book, I mean, you know, when you work with food a lot, you start to know, right, the quality, you start to taste different food, really taste different food, so you know. But anyway, it's what a wonderful practice it is. Another thing that Dogen says, when you wash rice and prepare vegetables, you must do it with your own hands and with your own eyes, making sincere effort. Do not be idle even for a moment. Do not be careful about one thing and careless about another. Do not give away your opportunity, even if it is merely a drop in the ocean of merit. Do not fail to place even a single particle of earth at the summit of the mountain of wholesome deeds. So what Dogen is saying here is just trying to be wholehearted in whatever you do, not just in the kitchen, whatever you're doing, right? Make sincere efforts. Do it with your own hands, your own eyes. Do not be idle, even for a moment. You know, what does that mean? Does that mean just doing stuff all the time? I think that means just paying attention. That's a hard thing, just to pay attention to what you're doing the whole time. There's a lot of distractions out there. But this is all practice, right? This is all practice. How we put our theory to work here. So yeah, so Samu, right? Samu. My favorite thing to do, Samu. And a lot of it is cleaning. I actually, for me, it's a meditation, cleaning. And then there is one koan that says, how can you clean something if it's never been soiled? How can you clean something if it's never been soiled? So, you know, Zen teachers, mentors explain that, you know, clean is not more spiritual than dirty. Even though you can kind of get into that mindset, it's really kind of interesting. You got to be careful, right? Because that's a fixed idea. what is there about cleanliness is next to holiness? Something like that, right? Yeah, I mean, what is that about? Okay, that's a fixed idea. That is a fixed idea, and you can go, okay, that's interesting. I think that's important, right? When we're thinking about the absolute, it includes good and bad. So trying not to have judgments, right? And yet we're also trying to live a life that's wholesome and upright at the same time. What's wrong with downright also? So what Ed is saying too, that when we're cleaning, we're practicing relating to something, relating to a thing. Being in connection with them so much. A lot of these things we take for granted. We're not really there. We're establishing a relationship, and we're living in a different world. Sesshin is a different kind of world that we want to be an everyday kind of world. Ed says, a world where things embody your spirit, where your presence gives things presence. He says, when you practice caring for, tending to things, things are not just things. They are an embodiment of your spirit. They are an embodiment of source. So he's saying this is tending the sacred body, living in a sacred space. So he says we clean to create and develop a relationship between the one cleaning and that which is being cleaned. Yeah, I just want it to be clean, that's all. I mean, that's one point of view. The other great thing that Ed reminds us about is what Suzuki Roshi said. Zen is like feeling your way along in the dark. Feeling your way along in the dark. He says, right, he's feeling alone. You might think it would be better to have more light, to know where you are going, and to get there in a hurry. But Zen is feeling your way along in the dark. When you have plenty of light and know where you are going, then you get impatient and want to push things out of our way. When you are in the dark, you become more careful and sensitive to what is happening around you. So Sesshin is about slowing down so we can kind of feel a little bit more our way when we don't know. Carefully. Instead of just taking things for granted and skipping along. I mean, I think that has its place too, but we're trying to slow down in Sesshin. And here's another um, chapter. It's called Seeing Virtue. And he starts with this quote: what you look for, you'll get more of it. What you look for, you'll get more of it. This is by Becky Bailey in Easy to Love, Difficult to Discipline. Easy to love, difficult to discipline. So Ed Brown, he writes this story. He says, after a number of months as the cook at Tassajara, he went to Suzuki Roshi with another problem that was coming up for him. How do I get my fellow workers to practice the way they should? And Suzuki Roshi, he explained to Suzuki Roshi that he says, I was endeavoring to practice his instruction to wash the rice, but that others in the kitchen often came late to work, disappeared for long bathroom breaks, and when they opened their mouths to gossip, chat, or patter, their hands stopped moving. How do I get them to practice Zen? Roshi listened attentively as his nods punctuated my litany with what I took as confirmation. Yes, I know. It's hard to get good help these days. He seemed so completely sympathetic. And when I finished, I paused for a bit and then was startled by Roshi saying, if you want to see virtue, you'll have to have a calm mind. That, he protested to himself, is not what I asked you. Then in the next moment, he relented and he said, I guess I have something new to study. I guess I have something new to study. How to work with his coworkers. He said, there's so many things that are important in Buddhist practice, right? The Four Noble Truths, the six paramitas, the Noble Eightfold Path. How am I going to survive in this kitchen? And one key that he found, he said, was not to calm his mind first and then look for virtue, but simply to look for virtue. What you look for, you get more of it. What you look for, you get more of it. When you look for fault, you'll find it. He started looking for more virtue and he began finding it. Seeing virtue, he says, encompass two aspects, the particulars and the absolute. When you taste what you put in your mouth, you may notice sweet or sour, earthy or sunny, and along with these relative characteristics, you can sense something essential, something from beyond. This something is not a thing. Right? What can you taste in those blueberries we had for breakfast this morning? Or that banana. Or maybe, you just tasted the cereal. Maybe it's possible. So this beautiful quote, go ahead and taste it. The virtue inherent in your careful, attentive, receptive experiencing of the moment. Go ahead and taste it. The virtue inherent in your careful, attentive, receptive experiencing of the moment. When your awareness is in the dark and you are opening your perception, you can also taste your own inherent goodness and the virtue of others working with you. When your awareness is in the dark and you are opening your perception, you can also taste your own inherent goodness and the virtue of others working with you. You may meet sincerity, kindness, wholeheartedness, vulnerability, grief, anxiety, determination, stubbornness, and mind itself, vast and spacious. Wow, that's what happens when you slow down and, feel your way in the dark, or it can happen. So, this is interesting too. He says, shifting your effort, shifting your attention from doing it right or aiming to gain approval, you shift to meeting and working with the ingredients at hand. So you're not doing it for approval or someone to pat you on the back. You're just working with what you have. Your full attention is there. And then he goes, looking to see what is available, you dream up what to do with the ingredients while honoring their virtue. Our ordinary effort is to dream up a picture of how we want things to be and endeavor to make it come true. Now in the dark, you feel your way along and your wisdom flashes. A salad, a soup, the virtue of spinach, apple, and walnut speaks to you. Now I've used cookbooks pretty much my whole Tenzo career. I'm not one to know how to throw, different ingredients together. But Ed is saying, at some point, I think that's important to do, especially when you're learning, how to put things together, what tastes like what. But if you get limited to just a recipe, then you're not letting something out. And you're not maybe really honoring the virtue of what you have present. The body comes alive because you are doing something, right? But your body is alive when you're working. I know you're doing something when you're sitting. This is a very physical practice. And we're not just sitting and daydreaming, although that can definitely happen. But a lot of times it's coming back to the breath because you're like gone, it's a very physical practice. It doesn't look like you're doing anything. So this is so important. We can kind of let things go so we can see maybe a little clearer, maybe not. He says, hands love to be hands. You give them life by allowing them to find out how to do things, how to wash and cut, stir and knead, ladle and mop. Your consciousness comes out of its nest or den in the head and finds its way into activity. That's pretty good, huh? How he talks about the den or nest in the head, how it comes out when you're doing things through your hands. den or your nest. Oh, I know that so well. I have got that den or nest. I mean, it's not all bad. We need a den or nest. But, you know, if you hang there too long. So hands, yeah. He was talking about hands have an eye in the middle of the palm in Buddhist iconography. That's pictured as Avalokiteshvara. She's got the 1,000 hands, and on each hand, there's all these different skillful tools, means of helping that can help with suffering and distress. Right, so this eye in the middle of the hand. He's saying, in this connection is health and healing. And in this way, you are learning to work with the virtue of things and to receive the blessings of being human. You are learning to work with the virtue of things and to receive the blessings of being human. I had a dream right after I read this about the hand, the eye, just that image of the eye in the hand. I think it's a Sufi image also. It's a beautiful image. I dreamt about my hula student, Rose, who is 80 something, and she's blind because she has diabetes. She was holding a needle that she had found on the floor. Ken and I were sewing and his Roxu, and I wasn't sewing it, but he had brought a packet of fabulous needles, but somehow they all got, a number of them disappeared. I don't know why. They just disappeared and I couldn't find it, and somebody found it. I think it's Linda said, "That's a needle right there." I said, "Great, I haven't been able to find new some." I saw another needle on the little ledge by the kitchen that has the bell somebody found, and then all these needles. Anyway, in the dream, I was picking up, there were all these needles on the floor where she was standing. The needles with eyes. And a blind woman holding a needle with an eye for me. So anyway, I have been talking a long time. Any questions or comments? I think that is what I have to share with you today. The dream, I know. And then I looked and there were more where she was standing. So many, I gathered them up, put them on the counter.
So did they actually fall in real life?
They did. They disappeared. It's like, what happened to my needle? And then looking on the floor, could not see it. And then Linda sees it, you know, a few days later. There, you can tell I did not vacuum up there. And then I saw somebody else had put another needle there. Yeah, there were all these needles all over. Anyway, I love this book, No Recipe. There's so many beautiful gems in here to discuss. And Sky is having her study group begin in April 14th on a Sunday evening at 6 o'clock. I think, or even cooking at home, maybe, and trying one of his, you know, he doesn't have any recipes. He just says what he does with food. There's some recipes, but you know, they're all in story form. Yes.
Thank you for sharing your story. And I was curious, you said that you used to be a lot more perfectionist. If you like, let that know a little bit. Recommend some techniques to do that?
All right, the question is from on, you said you used to be a perfectionist, but you've let that go for a bit. You've let that go. Can you recommend any steps on how you did that? Well, Roshi was a big, he helped me a lot with this, you know, because like cleanliness, for example. I know, you know, he's just not as clean as me. And like, do I need to have things to be this clean around here? Not really, you know. So, so that was a big help. And perfectionism also, which I learned is, you know, what is the motivation there for perfection? You know, am I doing something because I want to protect myself from any fault finding about anything I do? And if that is the case, protecting the self, right? The self that is not so solid anyway, if you really look at it, protecting what? That's one way to look at it. The other way also, I think, is that's kind of fishy, you know? Ken,
It's interesting. I loved your talk because cleaning and food for me have become passions very recently. I grew up with OCD parents and neat freaks, and I always remember hearing, "You have to clean up. The cleaning lady is coming." And I'm like, well, why do I have to clean if there's a cleaning lady coming? And I started to be very sloppy as a rebellion against my mom. Then in my marriage, the same thing. And now I find, to answer Anne's question, I find myself enjoying the process. And the process to me becomes the perfection rather than the outcome. So I enjoy doing it more. I enjoy what comes out of it because I don't have a fixed view of what the meal is supposed to be. The meal will be what it is when it's done. But if I enjoy the process and do it mindfully, that's the perfection for me rather than the outcome. So that's how I would answer Anne's question.
yeah, that's a good answer, Ken. Thank you.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, so does that answer your question on about perfectionism? So you're kind of like perfect as you are, right? That's the other thing, that you don't have to do everything a certain way to be, you know, people do it to be liked, right? You want to be part of the in-group or whatever, right? Get your parents or whatever to approve of you. It's good to notice what those ideas are that you live with, and just to ask a question, is that true?
A follow-up question would be, it's not perfectionism about myself, and it's not about others. I have very low standards of others. But despite those low standards, those aren't even met. And I struggle with that. I was talking to Roshi about that. Difficult people how they are, just being rude and not meeting those basic expectations. Human beings.
Did everybody hear that question? No, he didn't hear. So An has, he just said, you know, he has problems with people. What's that? An, maybe you better say it yourself. Why don't you take this?
My question is, I often struggle with difficult people who I feel I don't have high expectations at all. They're very low. It's like people smoking cigarettes in the CTA train, you know, things like that, where I'm like, it's a pretty low bar, yet you still can't do that. And so I struggle with that. So that's my question. Like, what are some techniques?
What does Suzuki Roshi say? He said, let's see. Calm your mind and look for virtue. I know it's kind of different because it's not just people you work with, it's just things that happen. People throw trash from their cars and stuff like that, right? Yeah, that's, yeah. How do you deal with that? Especially if you have to clean it up. You just clean it up, right? That's what you do. I mean, you're not gonna see them again, and so you're just in the moment. There's trash to be picked up. I have a body that can pick it up. It's a good thing. That's how I would look at it, but I'm sure there's a whole bunch of different answers for that, right? How do you get people to stop throwing plastic in the ocean, right? One plastic at a time. I know it's, I don't know. Those are hard questions to solve. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, Jackie said, this, I have a card here. This is a funny card. Okay. Can you see that? Aw, to a couple so perfectly suited for each other. Congratulations. Thank you for this beautiful card. All right, then. I think that's it for today. How's everybody enjoying oryoki, by the way? Yeah, the truth.
The truth is, though it feels lovely to do that for ritual and to learn it, and there's parts of it that feel for me very like clean and good, and some parts are very strange. And it's a little difficult thinking of using the same bowls for 7 days that haven't been washed, but that's a fixed idea of what a clean bowl is. But some of it's a little, it's a little bit difficult, but I'm noticing that I'm okay with eating so much less than I normally eat for breakfast. I mean, truly, it's when you're eating with a group, you're kind of like, I think I'd have fourths if I was by myself. So this really is good for learning to take from the world, just, enough for what I need, to sustain, but I don't need to be gluttonous, it's a nice.
Right,
nice
good.
combination.
Yeah, this is new for everybody here except for Roshi and me. And this morning I spilled a bunch of my water on my, placemat. It's like soaking wet, left a terrible mark on the table and everything, but I just, yeah, it happens. I tried to wring it out, and it's gonna dry, so it'll be okay. Yeah.
I was wondering, I have so many spills on mine, and can we take them home and wash them, or do we have to, is that part of the practice too?
Well, if we were in a Zen monastery, you just have the same bowls, right? We're not in a Zen monastery. We're not in a monastery, so other people have said, "Can I wash my bowls?" Even though, and I'm okay with that. I'm not going to be like, but if you really want the full experience, you should just do the whole thing. I mean, this is about fixed ideas about cleanliness and all of that, that it's a great thing to look at and see if you can live with without, getting sick. What are stains? Stains are okay. They're not water. Well, it's something I think is a good thing to kind of work with and just see how it goes by the end of the week. I think, instead of fixing it right away, kind of hanging with it, kind of relaxing, easing into this thing here. We're trying to, let go of obsessions and compulsions. And the way to do that is just to relax. Let's just relax about it. Just relax. Breathe. Okay? Yeah, give it a try anyway, all right? I know you have. Wholehearted. Just right there. The virtue of your Oryoki bowls. And all the food stains and everything on it. Some people are starving and have no food. So, anyway, I know, I hate, that was a bad analogy. Okay. Yeah. So, thank you. All right then. Enjoy Sesshin.